I think that we already are about to start. I think that we can do 5 minutes more. I'm going to explain how we are going to handle this.
Are we on Facebook already?
Oh, yes, Fernando. I see the live feed on your Facebook.
Yeah.
I see myself on. I see this on.
But I think it's only 3 minutes of it that recorded, and then it stops. Oh. So we have to restart it, right?
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to be now. Is the live, because before, for some kind of reason, it should stop recording. Okay, so we have 5 minutes before this kind of workshop starts. So this is going to be the first workshop from the Salvadorian Chamber of Commerce, aimed mostly for like online workshop, no? Aimed mostly for doing for bringing help to all the community and all the business. I think that you can take the word, Jose, about this, and just tell what is what we are doing here, no?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. It is 2:40 p.m. on April the 9th. My name is Jose Campos, and I am the president of the Salvadoran American Chamber of Commerce. And we are delighted to have you guys join on our Zoom meeting or via Facebook Live. We are going to talk about the emotional self-care that you need to do in order to cope with this emergency going on, in order for your business to do well, in order for you to treat well your employees. And we have to help each other. We have our professional, the Dr. Ana Sierra. She's a PhD in psychology. She's the executive director and founder of Ana Sierra Counseling. And we have brought her because she's an expert on taking care of our emotions and our feelings and our anxieties. And with that, please, Ana, take it from here. I know you have a PowerPoint presentation. If you do have a question, there's a chat box here. You can chat us. You can ask your questions. And it's going to be interactive, guys. If you want to say something, raise your hand or chat, and Fernando is going to give you the authority to speak. I know that Fernando, the paralegal number 2, is on mute. So if you can give them some access, that would be great. Okay, Ana, take us from here.
Thank you, Jose, and thank you for inviting me for this workshop. I'm Dr. Sierra, and I'm here today to talk about emotional well-being, and we're going to go through a whole lot of aspects of self-care today. And so that we know where we are, we're going to be conducting a self-assessment throughout the presentation, so it is going to be interactive. I do. If you want to ask questions, you can put them on the chat box, or you can just let us know, and we can go through each aspect of it. And I do want you to leave here with practical skills that you can apply to your day-to-day life as we are experiencing this quarantine and pandemic and all these things that are going to come up as we talk about the issues today. So let me share my screen and share with you guys the presentation for today. And just let me know when you're able to see it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we see it there.
Yep, it works. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So let's begin then. What comes to mind when you guys think about self-care? What kind of comes to mind to you?
It's remembering one's own needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're talking about the care of the self, right? The whole self. And we have different aspects of ourselves in here. This is called the self-care wheel, and it is a very good tool so that you can look at some of the things that are under each aspect of us. So physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, personal, and professional. And we're going to go through each one of those spheres, and I'm going to explain to you what they refer to in each of those. Some of them are very known for people. So the physical may be very known to you and you know what to do about self-care for that part of your life. But there's others that are a little bit trickier, like emotional, psychological. So we're gonna go in and go through each one of those. So let's just begin here. So physical self-care, what comes to mind when you hear about physical self-care?
I don't know.
I think about like
Go ahead.
Ir al doctor, ver que no tenga fiebre, que no
Right.
esté tosiendo mucho, que no estornudes, que pueda respirar.
Okay, so generally, yes. So in regards to the coronavirus, yes. So generally speaking, physical care, it refers to your physical being, right? Activities and habits directly related to your body's well-being. So for example, diet and management of illnesses, exercise, things that are going to directly benefit your organic self, so your being. Has nothing to do, we're not talking about feelings here yet. We're not talking about your thoughts. We're not talking about anything else other than just being alive. That is kind of the basic need that we have, that we need to have. Talking about just the issue of the coronavirus now, this is an aspect of ourselves that we need to be mindful of, right? That it's kind of alarming globally, because this is like the basic. If you look at our care, self-care, this is kind of like the core of it, and then everything else builds up on top, like your emotions, your feelings, other types of cares. But physical self-care right now, it is an alarming one globally, because there's deaths that are happening. There's very serious illnesses that are being treated. So what I would like us to do now is go through the self-care assessment. We're going to go through explaining each sphere of care, and then now we're going to go through the self-care assessment. So I'm going to put it up here. What I want you to do is you're going to look at the scoring sheet over here on the right side of the screen. And every time we go through this, I want you to score yourselves. So looking at physical self-care, in every one of these aspects, you're going to put a score next to where you think you are. So 3 means I do this I do this well, frequently. 2 is I do this okay, occasionally. And 1 is I barely or rarely do this. 0 is I've never do this. And then question mark is I've never even thought about this. So it is something that just takes a few minutes, or if you have any questions or comments. Let me just move. I'm not sure if you can see the entire screen. There you go.
Let me open a Word document so I can take notes.
Yeah, take some notes. We're gonna go through each one of these together. So eat regularly, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So having regular meals, and what this means is really just keeping a routine on your eating habits. Eating healthy, which is not just eating, but eating things that are good for your body, that are going to give you the energy that you need, and what you're what makes you feel good. So if you eat like burgers 3 times a day, that's not going to make you feel good. But if you eat like a mix of fruits and vegetables, and then also have your meat, that's good too. That makes you feel good internally. Exercising, regular care when you do need it. Take time off when you're sick, get massages, and then activities like dance, swim, walk, run, play sports. Take time to be sexual. That's important, with yourself or with a partner. Get enough sleep, and then wear clothes that you like. So these are things that contribute to our just physical self-care. And let me know when you guys are done so we can move on.
Yeah,
move
good.
forward. You guys are done? All right, everybody's done in Facebook as well. Make sure
Doctora, una pregunta.
Dime.
Algunas de las opciones que usted tiene allí, ¿cómo las podemos adaptar al tiempo de ahorita? Como por ejemplo, get massages, porque ahorita no se pueden agarrar masajes.
So you can do self-massages, right?
Okay, gotcha.
You can do
Okay.
self-massages, right? Everybody grab a neck.
Yeah, it's a social distancing massage, right? Since
grab your neck. You can massage, your legs. You can massage yourself. We're adapting it to the current situation. If you have a partner, you can have your partner give you a massage. If you don't have anyone, if you're just by yourself, you can self massage. You know, just
I remember at some malls.
We're gonna get creative here.
I remember
Thank you,
at some malls
exactly.
they have those massage chairs. Actually, you can just put like $1 in, and they like
Yeah.
massage you for like 5 minutes.
Exactly. And why is that important? Because we carry a lot of stress in our bodies when we are, you know, hearing so much about this crisis going on out there, the coronavirus. So we carry a lot. So physical needs are important. So when you're looking at this and scoring yourself, if you have a lot of ones, zeros, or question marks, then that's on your to-do list from now on. So let's say that if you're not eating healthy, or you do it rarely, you know, this is your plan of self-care from now on. So whatever you're doing 3s or 2s, that's great. But if you have a lot of 1s, 0s, and question marks, then it's an indicator that you have to, you know, make the time to implement those other things you're not doing. Okay, so let's move to psychological self-care. So what jumps to mind when you think psychological self-care? Such a strange thing to put together, right? Are you thinking about feelings, emotions, or what comes to mind?
How not to get crazy?
Okay. Maybe like stress management comes to mind. So psychological self-care refers to the health of your thought processes and the influence of the ideas that you're feeding your mind. So it's really about how you handle life on a day-to-day basis. So for example, somebody with an unhealthy thought process would be somebody who's maybe always thinking negative, right, about themselves and others. So you walk around life just, you know, having more trouble because internally you're processing things negatively. So if somebody doesn't say hello to you, you're thinking, oh, they don't like me. Instead of saying, you know, they didn't say hello to me, I hope they're doing fine, they probably have a bad day today. So you don't personalize that. So psychological first care just has to do all with you, how you're processing your day-to-day life. Now this changes when you go through a traumatic experience or when you go through stress. These thought processes changes without your awareness. This is where therapy is very helpful, because when you're not realizing that your whole worldview can change through time, that it could go unhealthy, or it could be healthy too. It really depends how what that thought process looks like. This is what therapists look at, you know, a lot. We look at how you're doing this in day-to-day life, and then we make suggestions on how to make that better. So let's go through the assessment of psychological self-care so you get a better idea of what that looks like. So again, we're gonna go you know, some of the things that you could do, like take day trips or mini vacations. And remember, you're scoring yourself over here, but I'm gonna talk about each one of these things. Make time away from phone, email, and internet, kind of like cleansing your mind and your thinking. Making time for self-reflection. So thinking about, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there are a lot of top executives that make time to just think. So take thinking time. For example, from 7 to 8 at night every day is gonna just be my time for me, where I'm gonna think about things and see what comes up. It's an interesting exercise if you want to do it. So notice your inner experience, listening to your thoughts, your beliefs, attitudes, and feelings. So a lot of times with busy professionals, it is really hard to do this part because you're always going and going and going and going. So there's always something external pulling you many ways, right? But when you're actually take the time to process how you're feeling, why you think the way you think, why you believe the things you believe, and maybe like things that you've done throughout the day and how you felt about it. For example, you have a client that tells you a terrible story, right? You know, if you work with people, and then you're kind of like dismiss it in the moment, but you didn't take the time to grieve that, because it is hurtful to hear about hurtful things. And right now, when we're experiencing so much news about the coronavirus and the deaths and the critical people in critical care, those things can begin to affect how you're processing and how you're thinking about life. Have your own psychotherapy, write in a journal, read literature that has no relationship with, in this case, coronavirus. We want to make sure that we're looking at other things that don't have to do all about this disease. Doing something that you're not an expert on. So it increases your self-confidence when you do something that you're not good at, right? Because you're learning something new. So you want to start implementing those things in your life. Attend to other stresses in life. Engage in other areas that are not about your career or like what consumes your day. So if your thought process is full with work and the entire pie is just work, then you're neglecting so much of yourself that you could be exploring, right? Being curious and saying no to extra responsibilities. So I'm sure you guys had enough time to score yourselves in this one. Who wants to share one that they maybe don't do or something that you do a lot?
Nobody?
You have to call on people, Anna. I don't think people are going to share.
We're not going to share. Okay, it's okay. Privacy.
So, like, for example, one thing that it happened to me that I have done much more is self-awareness by meditation. So I pay attention to my breathing. I pay attention to the environment, the sounds, the light. I even got to the point of feeling my own heartbeat.
Yeah, that's some deep meditation.
Yeah.
You know, what I see something that's going to be really hard now is that make time away from telephone, emails, and internet. Because, I mean, if you're socially distant and you want to be away physically from people, you still want to connect. And this is another excuse to be more attached to our electronics.
Remember, Jose and everybody else, we still have this.
That was very proper for now for this one.
Yes.
Yes, it's true. Now we are all attached to our phones and social media and your voice calls with people because you want to connect with others. But that's a positive thing given that we have this whole situation where we cannot, have a hug with each other, see the family, see maybe people that are meaningful to you. So definitely what this is relating to more is just the unhelpful scrolling, right? You're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, or you're clicking away here and there. So there's really no purpose to you using the device. That's what we're talking about. Not that there's no purpose, but it's just used as distraction to the present rather than oh, I'm actually going to call a friend and I'm going to be on the phone. So that's what it means, because a lot of people spend a significant amount of time just scrolling, and that's not helpful. So looking at that, definitely. So let's look at emotional self-care. Let's see what comes to mind when you hear this. It kind of feels repetitive, psychological, but it's not.
Emotional self-care. Is it like watching a love movie, a drama? I don't know. Talking about your feelings and emotions.
That's a good guess. Galaxy trying to talk over there. I don't know.
I have experienced that some people cannot talk about emotions, but they can talk about feeling something somewhere in their body. So, but for me, it's all about like.
We don't have water right now. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear something in the background.
It is true. Hi. It is true, yes. So for example, have you guys heard of, you know, in the community, Latino community, it's very common that people may tell you things like, oh, you know what? My head hurts, my back hurts, my leg hurts, something hurts, but the doctor says there's nothing wrong with me. And your doctor is right. There's nothing physically wrong with you. It is psychological in nature. So that's when the psychological stress becomes physical. And there's a lot of studies that show that the prolonged exposure to stress and trauma does result in physical illnesses, like heart problems, you know, high cholesterol, all these other things that are correlated to stress only. So that's why it's important to know about these so that you can, in the future, not suffer a physical. So let's talk about emotional. So this refers in the way you process your emotions throughout the day, being aware of your emotional state as you experience events in life. So if I was to ask, for example, Eric, what are you feeling right now?
I'd say, you know, happy, but also worried about, the world, one's family, all of that. So it's like, probably it's like feeling a lot of different things tugging at one.
Right. It's like a bag of feelings when you're thinking about this whole coronavirus experience, right? You have fear, you have grief, you have content or happy in certain ways, but all of it kind of can come at you quickly. And being aware of exactly what you're feeling in the moment and understanding it and honoring that feeling is very important. For example, I had a while ago, a client said to me, I was trying to tell this other person about the coronavirus, one of the news. And then this person was like, oh, well, that's their problem. And then she was so upset. I'm like, yeah, you were trying to get some sort of support because you were feeling grief for that other person that you read about. And then my client was like, oh my gosh, yes, I was feeling grief. Like I didn't realize that I was grieving somebody else that I don't even know that I read about on the news. So that experience of being aware of your emotional state all the time, it takes time to get there, but these are some ways that we can do that. Let me put them over here so you can assess yourself and how you're doing emotionally here. So spend time with others whose company you enjoy. Stay in contact with important people in your life. So making the time to stay connected. And at this times that we have the limitation of not being able to like hug each other or see each other face to face, then making it through video. Give yourself affirmations and praise yourself. How do you suppose somebody does this? Who can give me an idea?
Say that again, Anna.
So give yourself affirmations and praise yourself. How do you do this? How do you suppose somebody could do this?
I feel a big way is like, when one makes a mistake, to not like really like, be down on oneself for that. To like, someone once put it, I think effectively, is sometimes to not be so hard on oneself, basically.
Yeah, there's two parts to that. Not be hard on yourself, but also recognize the positive things that you are doing. For example, if you had 8 clients today and you were able to see 5 because 3 canceled, and you're going home and you're like, these 3 clients that canceled, dang it. And then you bring that in, but you got a lot done. You saw 5, you could have seen 0. So it's just about saying, okay, what am I doing well and what am I not doing so well? So being easy on yourself in a way, but also recognizing all the good things that you are doing. I see a line here now. How did that come up? Hold up, let me just see if I can remove that.
Yeah, I see it on my screen too, I think.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how that line came up.
I think you draw this line with one kind of the tools of the, I think so.
I'm not sure that, hold on, let me just.
Yeah.
Really
Now it's
quickly
working.
do this. I think it's this one. Oh no, it wasn't on my board. Let me start it again.
Sure.
There you go. Okay, now it's deleted. Good.
Perfect.
I think, yeah. So let's look at the emotional part. Love yourself. Reread books that you like and favorite movies. You know, identifying comforting activities, places, people, objects. Allow myself to cry. So anyone feels comfortable telling me the last time they cried? Just grief, cry, allowing an emotion to happen to you.
2 Mondays ago.
2 Mondays ago. Okay.
Yeah. I was feeling very sick. I had a lot of temperature. I saw myself in a dark room where I could not get out from, and I needed to use someone as my soundboard to hear me out and for me to hear myself, and then start working on those affirmations of like, I'm doing everything that I can. This is possible. I'm just feeling, this way right now, but I needed to let that toxic element out of me.
Yeah. You needed to honor the emotion. That's what I also always tell my clients. You have to honor your emotions, because if you don't honor them and give them the space, they will eventually take over you. If you don't allow that, I think that for me, 2 days ago, I was watching a movie, and I thought the movie was so, it was so well done that I just had a few tears. I'm like, oh, this is okay. I'm grieving a character here, so it's okay. Somebody going through something hard. So allowing yourself to cry is so important, because it's a way of releasing a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
Finding things that make you laugh and express your outage in social interactions. Now, we cannot go see each other, but we can write letters to each other. We can send stuff to each other. We can participate. For example, that client that told me she was having this hard feeling with that, I was like, I made a suggestion, like, hey, you couldn't help that person, but if you really have that in you that you want to do something, but you really can't do much, you feel like you can't do much, you can donate like $20 to an organization that it is fighting the coronavirus, so that you feel like you're contributing, but you're not like overly in there. You're letting it out. Okay, so you guys had enough time to score yourselves in here? All right, perfect. Spiritual self-care. What comes to mind when you hear spiritual self-care?
That is a very broad question, because depends, I think, about the self-awareness, like you said before, and the spiritual self-awareness as well. No? So that depends if you have some kind of ritual for yourself or your religion, about your belief, no? And of course, put more grounding to your beliefs as well, no? In this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what it comes to mind is, for some people, are religious beliefs, but for some other people, it could be like something that it's a higher being, a higher power. It could be nature. It could be your time to reflect, your time to meditate. It's something that's outside of your mind, something that's the next step. That's for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have to believe in a higher being in order to have spiritual self-care? What do you guys think? Yes, no?
No. Spirituality has to do with do I believe that there is anything, greater than me, outside of me, from another planet, another universe, another, something else outside of myself. And that is important. For example, I'm an officiant, and I also do weddings, and I see how spiritual that moment is, because everybody's like clinging to those important beliefs they have outside of themselves. And there is an urgency right now to actually reconnect after all this news and everything that we see every day. So.
Yeah, and it brings up right now having this this experience that we're all, like, the global pandemic, where we're kind of questioning a lot of things. why do people do certain things? Like, what is going on in the world? We begin to question things. So spiritual care refers to your connection with nature, the world, a personal relationship with a higher being. And there are many ways to express this. So somebody who doesn't believe, like, let's say in God, doesn't necessarily like have no spiritual care. Like they have a connection with nature. You have a relationship with the world in a way or another. How you express that relationship with the world is very different among cultures and countries, and this is an important aspect of yourself. So you guys are ready to score yourself over here? So some of the examples are making time for reflection. So just thinking about how you feel about the world in general and what your connection with it is, what your purpose is. Like all these things are like higher self awareness. Spending time in nature. If you've spent a time outside, we can actually go to nature right now, which is a good thing. I think not all parks are closed, but some places are open where you can have a little bit of greenery with you. Try to do some of that on your own. Finding a spiritual connection in the community. There's lots of places that are offering groups through via online to talk about what that looks like for you. If you're like Christian, you have churches. If you're, if you want to talk about nature and there's groups for that too. Open to inspiration. So can anyone tell me the last time they felt inspired by something? Just blown by something and inspired by it.
Probably by a visit to a Shenandoah National Park. So, there's such incredible views of like the, endless mountains there. So just like, the kind of vantage point and seeing the kind of like the span of things and the impact of it all. So, that was just gave a feeling of,
Yeah.
I guess it's like, looking up the stars or something, right? That feeling of all there.
Exactly. Yeah. Inspiration is that feeling that we get through our connection with nature. So when you're looking at a beautiful view, you start to, wow, you have that moment and things can come to mind, that are creative and uniquely to you in moments like that. So giving yourself that time is important to do those things. Cherish optimism and hope. Be aware of non-material aspects of life. Try at times not to be in charge or not be the expert. So allow other people to show you their uniqueness, right? So everybody that we're in contact with they all have a certain uniqueness to them. So you can learn from anyone around you. And it's about you having that experience. The connection with the world has to do with that. So if I walk around life thinking, oh no, I'm the expert, I know everything, you're not learning anything new. But if you allow others to be the experts of their own life, right, and learn from them, your life becomes more rich, right? Because other people are experts in things you're not. That's just the reality. And it connects you with other people and appreciate other people so much more. Being open to not knowing.
So as business owners and as professionals, I mean, people look up to us to be in charge and be the experts, to be the ones who have the answers and to be the ones who actually make the decisions. And some in the business world, I mean, they tell you don't have the luxury not to be in charge. You don't have the luxury to let others decide for you. You have to make decisions. So how do people that are business owners can just let their business go? I mean, we have a big responsibility, right? But how can we reconcile that with our spirituality?
Okay, think about it this way. So when you have a new client or a new even if you've seen this case 20,000 times, when you have a new person, you have to learn your client, right? Every one of your clients, you learn them, so you got to learn them really well. And giving them the space to tell you about their life and about what their experience is allowing that time to connect with them. So yes, you're the expert on that subject matter. That's why they're there for, right? So you are the expert as a business owner of that thing that they came to you for. If I go to like a financial advisor, I want them to know everything. I know that part, but is this financial advisor going to connect with me as a person and really understand my needs? That's what's gonna get me to that person. And so it's about giving the person the space to and allow them to show you their life and their experiences and connect with those experiences. That's what really makes customer service a lot more a lot better, right? That's the way you get referrals from clients that come by and by, because they had a good experience with you, not because you did the job. A lot of other people can do the job, but can you provide the experience to the client that you're connected with them and that you care and that you are involved? That's what it means.
And I wanted to add, is it possible that this is the time where people can actually reach out to, you know, their therapists, their coaches, their soundboard person, because it is time to rechange the game, to reshape the goals. How do we reach out to people? How our daily operations go? What do you do when your clients don't show up? How do you do follow up? How do you teach your clients to actually reach out to you? Because if we work with, for example, underserved populations, I am sure that you know, Dr. Sierra and many other people have been impacted a little bit by some people who are not computer savvy, or they don't have access to internet or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this all everything you do with your clients has to do with your own self-care as well. So how you treat your client and how you experience your client will impact you. It's really for your own well-being as a business owner to really be aware of these things, because then like I mentioned, your worldview changes, your thought processes start to change if you don't if you're not aware that everything you do impacts you. So be open to not knowing. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know. So when I bump into one of those, oh, you know what, I don't know that, but I can get back to you. Like I know that's one thing that we have to know, right? That we don't know everything. We're always learning, and making identify what is meaningful to you, and then give it a place and time in your life. So if you have, let's say, a partner, and they're meaningful, but like you never have a date night out, or like even if it's inside the house right now, even if you're with each other all the time, have some time for yourselves, then you're not giving it the place, meaning that it's meaningful to you, but you're not giving it place to it. So you have to not just in your family too, calling them, video conferencing them if they're important to you. Be in contact with people that are meaningful to you. So meditate is another one. Pray if you do that, or sing. Have experiences of all contribute to causes which you believe are important, and read inspirational stuff. So reading other people's stories can inspire us in many ways. So like big people that like Mother Teresa, reading about stories like that, you look at, wow, how selfless of a life somebody can live and be so happy. Not just because it was a religious belief, but it was her experience in life was that way, and how many people were impacted by that. So all of those things that inspire you open up new ways of that you can take care of yourself. All right, I'm sure you guys have enough time here. And then relationship, I know we're a little over, but let's finish up over here. So relationships, self-care refers to the way that you manage your relationships that are meaningful, like family, partner, friends, co-workers. And this is the self screen here. So scheduling regular dates with partner or spouse, schedule regular activities with children if you have children, make time to see friends, whether it is through video, right? A lot of people are doing video conferences with friends to try to stay in touch, and that's healthy right now. You have to spend that time. Call, check on, and see everyone that is meaningful to you. spend time with your animal. If you have an animal, that's your emotional support. Stay in contact with faraway friends. Make time to reply to personal emails and letters. Now, work emails, I didn't say any work emails here, personal emails. If you're getting personal emails, who gets personal emails
more than
anymore?
enough of work emails.
No work emails. Have your own personal email, never have to do with work. Yeah. Send holiday cards. It's a good time to send people letters, and that's something that is so old fashioned, but it's like kind of great to do at this time. There's people that need to get letters. Allow others to do things for you. So if you're always the person that's in charge in like relationships, you want to allow yourself to be vulnerable and let other people do things for you. You know, like have that the space where you can both be not on guard, not always the person in charge or the person that makes decisions. Enlarge your social circle. Always be open to more people in your life. Don't like, yeah, it's great to stick around with your friends, the people that you have made for years and years, but we evolve and we change, and we are more likely to change friendships throughout life. So make sure you're always open to new people. Ask help when you need it. When was the last time anybody here asked for help when they thought they needed it? Yeah.
I think that the factor that most people who are participating are males, that determines a little bit of the answer, but
I agree. I was gonna mention that as business owners too. Like, you know, you're self-sufficient. You can do it all yourself. You can build things yourself. You can do so much yourself. But are you being, you know, vulnerable with yourself, knowing that there are things you need help with? And you.
I mean, one thing of a good business owner is to know how to delegate and ask people to help them. So I mean, every day I ask people to help me. I mean, I ask my assistant, hey, can you please do this? And I ask my associate, hey, I need help here. That doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I think that's a good thing to ask for people to help me. So I guess every day I ask for help.
That's good. Yeah. So share a fear, hope, or a secret with someone I trust. Now, this one you have to. This is good for you. It brings you closer to people when you share fears, hopes, and secrets, you know, that you've kept to yourself for a long time. So, for example, if, let's say, as a business owner, I'm looking at is my business is going down right now, and I'm worried about that. You know, I'm afraid that all the work that you've done your entire life maybe is gonna go somewhere that's not positive. And then be truthful about it and cry about it if you need to. Brings you closer to someone that you trust, of course. You don't want to talk to somebody you don't know about this, like on the street, because that's not helpful. Talk to somebody that you trust. Let them know how worried you are, and that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to have a solution for it right now, but sharing the feeling and sharing the worry brings you closer. Any questions? Anything? You guys had enough time?
I actually have a question for you. Yes, like for example, there are some of us are it is easier for us to say things to and this whole thing about personality, like extroverted people and introverts, etc. For those who are extroverted or extroverted tendencies, it's easier to talk, to say, to send things, etc. And somehow we need to be aware that sometimes we create noise unnecessary. But for those who don't have those same personality traits, what can they do?
So, I mean, it's really more about how comfortable you are sharing deep feelings and thoughts with people. I think the extrovert introvert dynamic has to do with how you relate to the world, right? And it's important that because so extroverts might be better at it because they're practicing more. Introverts may not be as good at it. Not that they're not good at it, but they could have less practice. And anything you practice less, you're not going to be that great at it, right? Things that you practice more, you will. So I would say, even if it feels too vulnerable to say it in person, write a letter. You know, like if you're an introvert, like if you're by yourself, then write a letter to, I don't know, somebody that you like, your brother. Hey, you know, I wanted to reach out to you, and I can't tell you this in person, but I want to share with you something I'm really worried about. Or if it's your partner too, and a letter, a note, an email. There's so many other ways to communicate that don't feel that naked. You know, as extroverts are very used to getting naked in the world, like relationally wise, you know. Yeah. They're putting themselves out there. They're going to things on their own. They're like, they're not afraid of these large crowds. So you're putting yourself a lot in those spaces, but introverted people are not. They're just more closed off. Not because they don't want those things. They want the same kind of relationships, but also let's appreciate that the introvert experience is a lot more self-aware. Introverts tend to spend a lot of time with themselves and thinking about themselves and thinking about their feelings, and so they may be more aware than extroverted people on their internal experience. So they have to appreciate both personality types. But sharing is really more about how comfortable you are being vulnerable with somebody, right? Let's just move towards workplace self-care. So refers to activities that maximize performance in the workplace while maintaining a healthy balance and boundaries with work responsibilities. And how do we do this in a place right now where a lot of people have to be teleworking? They have to have a schedule, a new routine. So for example, the first thing that you read on these is take a break during the workday, like lunch, but lunch is home sometimes for a lot of people right now. So you're going really from your bed to meetings, or or like from the meeting to your kitchen to get something to eat. So creating your routine is important, right? So taking the time to actually have a proper lunch, even if it's in your home, do that. Take time to chat with coworkers or with people around you. So there's a lot with that, like video, texting, make sure that they're checking in on them, making sure they're doing okay. Make a quiet time to complete tasks. Identify projects or tasks that are exciting and rewarding. Set limits with clients and colleagues, right? So we can be helpful to people, and they come to us for help, but you have to set limits with how you're going to do that. You don't want a client to over need you or under need you, right? You need a good balance of that. Balance your caseload, like how much you have to do, and when you know it's too much, you have to stop yourself, right? Arrange workspace that is comfortable and comforting. So right now that a lot of people are home working, you can work in your pajamas and that's okay. You can work, you can have your space look different, have a separate space from your living space if you have that, or like a corner that's your workspace, and then everything else is home. Get support in the form of supervision and consultation, negotiate your needs, have a peer support group. And if relevant, some companies, what they do is they this has to do with developing other parts of yourselves within that. So you're not, say that you're a lawyer, then you're a lawyer 24/7, but why not, why couldn't you be a painter, like for like a 2-hour gap in your week just to paint and do creative stuff that has nothing to do with law. And that looks like time that will be taken away from productivity, but it's actually enhancing parts of your brain that have not been stimulated in order for you to be more creative at work. So remember that we're working with a very complex organ, which is the brain. So you guys scored in our areas. Anybody wants to share any of the areas that we talked about, and maybe how they scored, or what they found about what you found helpful about this exercise?
I mean, I found it interesting how, like, in some self-care categories, I scored higher, while other ones I scored, lower the sum of them. Okay. So, kind of like reminds one like which categories maybe one should refocus on a little bit sometimes.
Absolutely. And now you have a checklist of things that you could implement.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
Okay.
For me, one that surprised me, but not quite, is the sleeping, because in my experience right now, I am on and off sleeping. Of course, I was sick for 2 weeks, but I noticed that my sleeping pattern is all messed up. Like sometimes I know I have to get up early, like anytime before 10 is good for me. But sometimes it's 1, 2, 3 in the morning and I'm still awake thinking about things, writing things, planning things, watching webinars, learning. So, yeah.
Yeah. And sleep patterns are something common that clients are also telling me that it's changing, because there's no like set schedule where you have to get out to the office. In some cases, but you're just like going from bed to your computer. So create sleep patterns, because you can wake up a little bit later, or you can go to sleep a little bit later because you can wake up later. So it's maintaining your routine is important. Even if we're in the middle of what's happening right now, your brain benefits from sleeping at night. That's just the reality. Your people that work night shifts and then sleep through the day don't demonstrate restful sleep. So you have to sleep through the night, or at least make your room very, very, very dark. Not to go depressed, but like to go not the walls, but just the curtains, everything super dark, to trick your brain into thinking it's nighttime. Because if you're not sleeping well, your cognitive functions are being impaired. Things are being impaired in your day to day if you're not sleeping well. So that's definitely something important to do.
Yeah. I always find it interesting how like sleeping, I feel like it's, I mean, one can control the process a lot, but also some parts of it, like one can't control, right? Like, eventually, it's, it just hits, right, that you're asleep. One can like try to, it's like one needs to have the mental state right, the physical state right. I mean, it's, even though I feel like generally have slept better in recent years, I still sometimes, it's like a night where, oh, I just can't fall asleep or something, or I wake up too early and I can't go back to sleep.
Yeah, and there's many techniques you can explore, like if to be able to sleep well, to have a routine. Definitely a lot of what I hear a lot from my clients who are business professionals, they're always thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, and sometimes they have really good ideas at 2 a.m. So you have to retrain your brain into a space for that, right? So when you actually do self-care the right way, which is all of the things we've talked about, your brain is going to have the space to do that thinking on your awake time, and it won't interrupt your nighttime, because you're a creative person, right? You have a lot of ideas. You have a lot of things that the brain wants to tell you about, but if you're not giving it space to take care of it, it's going to mess with you at night. It's going to come up at 2 a.m. and wake you up. It's going to wake you up at 3, and then you can't sleep until 6 a.m. and then you're ready to go to work. So if you don't give it the time, the mind will find a time to mess with you. That's why it's so important to do that. Yeah.
So, I have a question.
I just wanted to share one quick thing that I apply to myself, because when I do coaching with other people, I always ask the question, do you know about this or that? And sometimes when they say, well, I don't know the answer, sometimes asking, if you knew the answer, what would it be? You take them to think about another way. And I retook meditation before bed. And that has worked very well for me so far.
Okay. Huh. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, something to add, because it comes from the top of my mind when we were talking about all the things that we can do now, no? Because not, of course, in all the cases, a lot of people is alone, no? And I just remember one of the quotes of Nikola Tesla that he says, "Be alone. That is the secret of invention." No, that is when you are alone, you start to think in another kind of sense, because you are not like you're not deep into the routine, no? So I think that there is a lot of things right now coming out, no, from from the mind of the people, think that maybe you always think about, but you never have the time to like very like putting time in that sort of thing. You know, it's like more superficial, but not superficial. It's more in very deep in your thinking. No, and it's not something that you are addressing. So I think that as you, Anna, are addressing with all this talk, with all this workshop, is already a very good time, no, for doing like a self check, like this, you know, doing a list and saying, okay, what I can care about me that I'm not taking care of, no, because this is opportunity as well to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's important to do these things just because the better that you are with yourself, the better you will be with others too, right? So it's if you're not taking care of that emotional part, then you're gonna dump your emotional stuff on other people. If you're not doing the the psychological part, then you're going to start like thinking the world is a terrible place, the world's a terrible place, because there's so many bad people out there, and then you become pessimistic, so if you're not careful, you can fall into patterns that will get you, to be uncomfortable most of the time. So taking care of those things is super important. Anything somebody grabbed that was new that you never probably thought about, that you like, oh, now you're considering that?
So Anna, is that the trend right now? Are people becoming more pessimistic because of the emergency? Are people making more bad decisions because of the emergency? Well, I mean, statistically, as a lawyer, I am seeing more domestic violence cases.
Yes.
I see people making bad decisions.
Yeah.
I don't know whether because they're secluded or because there's a combination of factors that people are expressing stress in different manners. But is that a trend right now, or at some point we're gonna say, well, this is the new normal now, we're gonna come back down and behave in a better manner? I don't know. Or are we desensitizing our brains, and these trends are just gonna keep going up and up? What do you think the trend is gonna be?
So if you look at it this way, isolation is a form of psychological punishment, right? That is used. So we're all being sort of punished, but because it has to be something good, right? It is something that's good for the world, right? That you are staying in your home and doing these things. But also I would say for like business owners, the added stress of possibly losing income, losing clients, losing that momentum. But also if people that are now together, like, I'm seeing that too as a therapist, I'm seeing a lot more conflict between family members and couples, like really, really bad, because you have a lot of emotional wounds that you haven't healed, and then you're around somebody that you are related, like when you're with a partner, everything emotional that you have not managed on your own is going to come out at them, and their stuff is gonna come out at you. That's just the way it is, because it's a deep relationship, and the domestic violence cases are increasing everywhere because of that. I think that the more that you keep people in that state, the more this may increase. And it's because there's a lot of factors in it too. For example, like if, let's say, being upset is something that you do with your partner every now and then, now you're going to do a lot more when you're locked with them 24/7, because that's the way you're relating to that person, or because there's a lot of emotional wounds that are not being healed in there. So for couples really, and for families that are having these troubles, is learning to do constructive fights, right? We can now, there are domestic violence in itself, it's a bigger problem than just having issues with your partner. That's more when violence is involved, there's a very big line that's different, right? But when you're thinking about it, having effective fights, it's okay to fight with your partner. That's what people do. Everybody fights with their partner. But how do you do that constructively? Just think about it as a business. Like, how do you get a problem solved in your business? You're not gonna yell at the computer or curse at the computer or like push the computer. You're going to think about it. You're going to come to a plan of action, and you're going to execute that plan. That's how you do it with couples too. Like, if there's issues in the relationship or if there's something that keeps coming up, think about what feeling is that. Is that fear? Is that anger? Is that something that's coming up? Just be more aware of your internal experience, because there's something coming up for both people when there's a fight. And being able to talk about it and resolve it and have a plan together brings you closer. But I think that the more isolated people are, the more emotional things we're going to see. So yeah.
So the question, so just to follow up on the question, so if this lockdown continues, is the brain going to adapt and say like, okay, now this is the new normal and domestic violence cases are gonna reduce or plateau, or the brain's just gonna continue being more and more crazy and domestic violence cases are going to increase? What do you predict?
Well, I think that adaptation takes a lot of time. It really depends on what you're talking about. I'm going to give you the psychologist answer. It depends on many factors. So you could end up having a relationship where you're just fighting as the new normal, and it's stressful, and that might end, or that might, like everybody will cope differently. Some people may end relationships. I have seen around like people's posts and then clients, when they say the difficulties of being with the partners, like the divorce courts are going to be so full after this isolation period. Not only because it's hard to be locked down yourself, but you're locked down having to deal with your own emotional stuff and another person's emotional stuff all the time. You can get exhausted from fighting, yes, but there's always a new day. So you start fresh, right? I don't think there's a way of adapting to negative experiences. It's more of how do you survive that? That's what we have to focus on. How do I make the best out of this situation and survive this in a better way, or gain skills that are going to help me, not hurt me or someone else, right? So that's adaptation can happen in those both ways. It could either be divorce, breakups, or let's work on this together and make it better, or keep fighting. Everybody responds differently, so it's really hard to say what the prediction on that would be. But yeah, any questions anybody else has about anything we've talked about today?
Well, I think it's been we have spent more than an hour on this already, so we want to thank Ana for your support to the chamber and everybody that came. I hope you have gotten anything from this. I have gotten a lot from it. Just mark your calendar. Our next meeting is going to be a Zoom meeting like this on April the 15th on Wednesday. It's going to be at 2 p.m. We're going to talk about the PPP applications and these government loans that they're sending. Some people have applied. I have not heard that somebody has gotten it yet, but hopefully on Wednesday we're gonna have some round table of who has applied and who has gotten the money, how much money they have gotten, what has worked, what hasn't worked, which bank is working, which bank is not working. So mark your calendar. April 15th, supposed to be tax day, but it's no longer tax day anymore. So 2 o'clock, we're going to send a flyer, and obviously we're going to do this. So last remarks. Thank you very much, Ana. Let me give you an applause.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Ana.
And everybody, last remarks. Take care. Be in connection with yourself, and thank you for being a part of this. I like
Stay
this.
safe, stay healthy. Yes, live long and prosper.
What is that?
Take care.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. See y'all. Stay well.